we've got to be the only country where this is true. We have way less soldiers deployed overseas and way less flag-draped caskets coming home than we did in, say, 2011 and 2012. From about 2004 to about 2013, we had always about 100 to 120 to 150,000 Americans deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan. We've toned those wars down a whole lot. Now we've basically ended the Afghan war. President Biden is just about to approve or did approve an increased Pentagon budget. Wait, less war? More money? No matter how many enemies we have or we don't have, the spending goes up. The truth is, they'll always come up with a new threat. So I think the future of American military operations is this. I'm working on a book right now that's called The New Barbarians, and it's about America's new invisible and abstract wars. This idea that we're not ending the wars, we're toning them down and we're making them as invisible as possible. The new formula is basically this: drones, mercenaries, private military contractors, a few commandos, hundreds or thousands maybe, but not like whole armies like we had in Iraq and Afghanistan, CIA agents, and another kicker, proxies, working through warlords, working through corrupt dictators, working through ethnic militias. The great thing about that, if you want to continue those wars forever and profit from them, is they don't really get in the headlines a lot. Politicians aren't particularly worried about it. They learned something from Iraq and Afghanistan. The warmongers, the war profiteers, they learned from these wars. Not that we shouldn't do it. What they learned is we got to do it in a way that doesn't get on the public radar and has no political cost. From a movement perspective, I guess, until we can convince enough Americans that war is something that affects them, it's going to be really hard to get them motivated about these issues if they think it's not affecting them. So therefore, I've heard, I'm worried about kitchen table issues, stuff that affects me, Social Security, healthcare, am I going to get subsidized childcare, college costs are off through the roof. And I say, well, war is a kitchen table issue.
All right, Shalom. There's the brother Nahoya from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash, double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. All right, this is Revelation chapter 6 and verse 4. And it reads, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon, to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." All right, and through the Spirit, I want to go into a lesson, all right, based on the clip that you saw before the lesson began, all right? And Salakia, if it was a little long-winded, but I wanted to get as much of the meat from that clip as possible to go into a lesson on it. All right, because that video, that short video, goes into a number of subjects concerning prophecy. All right. The scriptures talk about the Lord, the end of these things having plain beginnings. All right. And plain endings with effects and signs. All right. This is 2nd Esdras 9. All right. And I'm going to jump down to verse 5. "For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs." All right. And through the Spirit, we understand who Esau, Edom is according to their works. All right. Their lack of pigment is an indicator. All right. But they are judged by Yahweh Shema Shai based on their works. All right. And their works speak for themselves. All right. Through the Spirit, we understand that the so-called white man is Esau, Edom. All right. And this is contrary to the doctrine of the Babel. All right. The Christian fable, I should say Israelite fable, of Esau being the so-called Arabs. All right. Because when you go through the scriptures, Esau was promised the fatness of the earth. All right. But he would have to live by the sword. All right. Those so-called Arabs, which are Ishmaelites. All right. And Elamites. All right, but mainly the Ishmaelites, they don't enjoy the fatness of the earth. They don't match the description of Esau, Edom. All right. Scriptures call Ishmael a wild man. All right. They fit that description more than the power that dwells on the earth, the ultimate nation and power. All right. They don't fit that bill. OK. And if you believe the so-called white man is Japheth, where in the scriptures is Japheth supposed to be doing all of this wickedness on the earth? Wouldn't the Lord include that in prophecy? That's how we understand, again, 2nd Esdras 9:6. Even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And Esau's own history is a sign. All right. The so-called white man's own history is a sign that he is Esau Edom. All right. And what you have to understand for those who are naive, all right, to believe certain doctrines that are pushed out there about Esau Edom being the Arabs, is that the Lord has made this plain according to prophecy. All right. Peace has been taken from the earth. All right. Riches have been gotten by ill-gotten means. All right. And there is one nation, as far as the families of the earth, who is commanding all things in the earth right now. All right. In the realm of men. All right. And again, this is through the prophecy of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right. Now let's touch Daniel chapter 4 and verse. Let me jump down to it. In verse 17. And it reads, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the bases of men." All right. And that will be Esau Edom. All right. Job describes them as the children of fools. All right. The scriptures describe them as the border of wickedness. All right. And what that individual described, and he appeared to be an Edomite. All right. But he described something that's very important to the prophecy of the end. All right. And it's the endless wars. Because what you have to understand is that this is the only way the beast eats. The only way the beast can sustain itself is through violence. All right. And that goes back to the blessing. All right. That Esau was given. All right. So let's go to that really quick. All right. So let's go to Genesis 27. So like Genesis 27. And I want to start around 32. All right. So this is Genesis 27 and 32. "And Isaac his father said unto him." Now let me jump down. I want to get the point. So this is Genesis 27 and 27 and 37. And it reads, "And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. What shall I do now unto thee, my son?" All right. And if you understand, all right, for those who don't know, you can go back and read Genesis the 27th chapter in its fullness. All right. There was a blessing given, all right, to Esau Edom. All right. After Jacob received the blessing. And what Isaac is telling Esau is that Jacob has already received the blessing of the other nations bowing down to him and being his servants. All right. And Isaac is basically saying, what other blessing can I give you since I have made, again, let's read that. "I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants." So this is very important because what Isaac gives Esau is exactly what we're living in. All right. Even so, the Lord has plain beginnings with signs, plain beginnings. And it starts with the word. All right. According to prophecy, these things will play out. Now, continuing, verse 38 reads, "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, "Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." So Isaac is giving him a temporary blessing, saying that he would have and get to enjoy the fatness of the earth, but he would have to get it and live by the sword. When he breaks the yoke of Jacob off of his neck. And historically speaking, this applies to the time after King David. All right. When you think about the Babylonian captivity, all right, when the Edomites said what? Raise it, raise it. That was the beginning of them being broken free from the bondage of being Jacob's servant. And then they were loosed a little season. This is the season that they've been given to enjoy according to the blessing that was bestowed upon Esau. Because you have to understand, these blessings trickle down through the heritage. That's why the scriptures talk about the importance of an inheritance. This is the inheritance of the descendants of the Edomites, the world we live in, America, all right, the Western world. Because it's not just a so-called white man who calls himself an American. That's the spearhead, if you will. It's also the Russians, the French, the British, the Australians, so on and so forth. They all descend from the same family of Esau. And what you see now is a modern version of Esau's blessing. All right, he has to live by the sword. And what this guy went into was that they have less boots on the ground, but they're still investing more money into warfare. And we understand why these things are through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. See, the Lord deals with the source of the issue. All right, not these conversations that circumvent the elephant in the room. All right, and the elephant in the room is that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is the wicked described in the Bible, and the earth was given into his hands. All right, as a matter of fact, let's go to that. All right, this is Job 9:24. And it reads, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right. So this is making it plain. If the so-called white man is not Esau, Edom, if he is not the wicked, according to his actions, then where and who is this individual or nation that was prophesied to do all of this wickedness at the end? And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, you can go into Occam's razor. All right. The simplest answer tends to be the right one. And what we see is the Western society, if you want to call it that. But really, it's Esau's kingdom beginning to crumble. All right. And the scriptures talk about him being the violent man. All right. The one that keepeth not at home. And that's a reason. That is the reason why he has to continue to invest so much money in his military. Because, again, this is his blessing. This is how he sustains the power that he has in the earth, according to the blessing that was given to him by Isaac. All right. So this is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his heart, his desires hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And the so-called Arabs are not doing this, man. They don't have bases in all of these different nations. That's not something that they have going on. Again, the Lord said that the end would be in signs, effects and signs. So these things will be plain. As the scriptures say, in the end it shall speak and not lie. And according to prophecy, we understand that the so-called white man is Esau, Edom. And this clip really just seals the deal. All right. One of many clips that seal the deal in the fate of Esau, Edom, man. Their history that they've well documented of all of their wickedness. But their continual push and agenda of ruling the world by greed, deception, and the sword, most importantly, shows you that this is Esau, Edom, man. All right. Matter of fact, let's go to this one. This is Psalms 140. And I'm going to start at the top. Psalms 140 and 1, to the chief musician, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. Why? Because this is how he sustains his kingdom. but he's losing that grip. All right. The Lord said that he would make terrors, make him afraid on every side, man. He will be caught up by the snare that he laid. And that's the time that we're coming into. Esau didn't imagine that all of this violence would equal up to him having to actually pay for it. And that's what Isaac didn't tell Esau. All right. He didn't tell him that he that liveth by the sword. All right. Let's get that if I may. All right. Salakia, I need to get this. All right. I'll come back to it. But through the Spirit, the scriptures talk about he that liveth by the sword shall also die by it. All right. And that's what Isaac didn't tell Esau. All right. That he would perish for that same sword that he's out here shedding blood. All right. The scriptures talk about the land not being cleansed unless it's cleansed by the blood of him that shed it. All right. And that concerns nations of people. And this is how we understand that this is Esau Edom, according to the effects and the signs that we see at the end. All right. They spend all of this money on weapons. All right. The scriptures talk about him that turned the earth into a wilderness, because all the other nations have to follow suit to keep up with the Joneses. They can't afford to just invest their money in the agriculture because the violent man is ruling the earth. So they're all naturally, according to prophecy again, beating their plowshares and the pruning hooks and preparing for what? For war. All right. As a matter of fact, let's get that before Micah. All right. Let's go to Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right. And I want to jump down to 9. All right. And it reads, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. So right now, the Lord is creating that algorithm, as the Zaquans and Dallas go into, the recipe for that third world's woe. And Esau is the forerunner. His violent nature has provoked all the other nations through the Spirit of the Lord to prepare themselves for war. All the other nations' backs are against the wall because they're seeing the violent overthrowing of these other nations. And they're thinking about themselves being put in the same position. And that's why they're turning again, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So the Lord is putting a spirit on them to have courage, all right, to stand up against Esau Edom, all right, which is the Western world as you know it. All right, America in league with NATO and the EU, that system, that beast, all right, is a system. And in order for that system to continue, just like in order for your car to run, it needs gas. In order for this system to run, it needs to maintain its power through blood. All right. It has to maintain its influence through blood and rape, robbery, and murder. Just like the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire needed to continue conquest to fill the slave, to maintain the slave population when you go into the history of it. And this is that deadly beast, that beast whose deadly wound was healed. Back again with the same formula. And that's how we know this is Esau Edom. Back at it again. The red horse. The one who it was given to take peace from the earth, man. All right. And this is how this beast has to continue to eat. All right. And this guy, got on RT News, saying that, we shouldn't be doing this. But this is how the system eats. Without Babylon the Great doing what they do, these Edomites on this side of the earth don't get cold coffees at Starbucks. And they don't really realize that. So they fighting against their own well-being, really. And that's why the scriptures say a house divided against itself cannot stand. And ultimately, it's the Spirit of the Lord that is doing this. Man, it's cold, man. Micah chapter 2 and verse 1 reads, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye will not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil." Why? Because this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. All right, it's a reason that the scriptures say this as well. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 34, and I want to jump down to verse 5. All right, and it reads, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment." All right, now when you go into that word Idumea, it's the Greek word for Edom. "The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea." That is what the Lord is preparing. All right, that's why the scriptures say, the Lord is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. All right, that's the time that we're coming into, where the Lord is beginning to create the scenario for judgment. All right, not even beginning to, the Lord is doing it. All right, and I also want to grab this really quick for those who aren't aware of this literature. All right, this is Who is Esau Edom by Charles A. Wiseman. You know, I got the book, but for the edification's sake and for the lesson's sake, I just want to pull a PDF and get this information as a segue. All right. So this is Charles Wiseman's book on Who is Esau Edom. And I want to deal with this in particular. All right, this second paragraph. So right here under life and history of Esau, it says this: "Esau was the firstborn of Isaac, and thus was heir to the birthright derived from the direct racial lineage of Adam to Noah to Abraham. Thus Esau was racially an Adamite, a Semite, and a Hebrew, the racial stock of the white race." All right, and this is Charles Wiseman, all right, who put this book out. I don't remember the date, but he put this book out a long time ago, maybe the 80s, maybe even earlier than that. Let's see. All right, 91. All right, but he put this in this literature. All right, and this book for a long time was extremely expensive. I think now it's down to $20. So for those who are interested, you should hop on Amazon and definitely buy this book if you can. All right, because it does offer some good information, but you do have to eat the meat and spit out the bones. All right, but I just want to segue into that to reiterate, all right, to reinforce the statement that Esau Edom, all right, is the so-called white man. And we see this playing out with the end being shown in effects and signs going back in the second Esdras, the 9th chapter. All right, this is how we understand who's who in prophecy. This is extremely important. All right. Now, when you go into second Esdras, all right, the 6th chapter, it says this. All right, second Esdras 6 and 7 reads, "Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Now, the reason I want to pull this scripture is because this shows you that Esau has to be in rulership at the end, before the reign of Jacob. All right, another scripture that shows you that Esau would be in rulership at the end, all right, is Isaiah the 63rd chapter. All right, let's get that real quick. This is Isaiah 63, and I will start at verse 1. And it reads, "Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. All right. And for those who don't know, this is Yahweh Shai. All right. This is he who cometh from Edom with dyed garments. All right. Those dyed garments is a representation of blood on his garment. All right. Which is a representation of the judgment that is upon Esau, Edom, for the iniquity that they've committed in the earth, man. For the violent bloodshed that they've done in the earth, man. For touching the apple of the Lord's eye, which is Jake, man. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Yahweh Shai, contrary to popular belief, is extremely angry, man. All right, let's continue. It reads, Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. And again, you have to understand the context. He's coming from where? From Edom. Verse 4 reads, For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And Lord willing, we're a part of that redeemed. But this is the verdict. But I wanted to show that clip because this clip shows you, according to prophecy, that this is the system. This is the beast system. All right. And the nation that was prophesied to rule that beast system is Esau, Edom. And this is how we understand that this is the so-called white man, who is Esau, Edom, truly, biblically. And this is a beautiful ending to this whole charade that Esau, Edom has been allowed to have. All right, this portion of time of the wicked, man. And the Lord's about to overthrow him. And all the Lord is doing is trumping up more charges on him. All right. Videos like this just expose further how guilty this individual is, man. All right. Now let me go to, again, Micah 2. And I wanted to grab this precept. Let me see. Yeah. So let's go to Proverbs 4 and 16. All right. Because this describes Esau, Edom, man. Matter of fact, you know what? Scratch that. I want to go to Malachi. So this is Malachi 1, and I'll start at 1. All right. And it reads, The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, Wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord. Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, We are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. Somebody has to fit this bill, all right? As a matter of fact, it reminds me of this scripture as well, all right? Because this is how the beast eats. And this was prophesied, that this is how Esau was going to have success in the earth. He was going to have to do this. He was going to have to be the violent man. He was going to have to covet fields and take them by force. All right. Now, this is Ezekiel 35. And I'll start at 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith Yahweh Shai, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh Shai. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. So again, this is another key indicator that Esau, Edom, all right, would live by the sword. All right. Blood is as nothing to them. All right. They will cut off many people by the sword, man. As a matter of fact, let's get that if I may. Salakia. Yep. All right. This is Habakkuk 2. And I'll start at 9 and continuing. Matter of fact. Yeah, let's continue. Verse 6. All right. Because we left off at 5. Verse 6 reads, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And this is what you have happening on the earth, man. This is exactly what you have happening on the earth, contrary to popular belief. That's why all these other nations are upset. That's why all these other nations have a serious problem with Babylon the Great, man. All right. That's what they say in these UN summits. All right. In these different meetings. All right. They all cry out for the robbery. All right. And the Lord said, woe unto them. OK, continuing on. It says, verse 7, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. And that's what the Lord is stirring up. All right. When you think about the Afghanistan situation. All right. One of the leaders, one of the top leaders of the Taliban. All right. Just as a side note. And I don't know his name exactly. But he was trained by the U.S. to fight against the Soviets. And Lord willing, I'll probably be able to go into a lesson on it, Lord willing. But yes, the leader of the Taliban now. All right. He went from being trained by the U.S. to fight against the Soviets, which were the Russians. All right. To joining the Taliban, to being arrested by the U.S. and put in Guantanamo Bay. All right. To being released. And now he's about to have a meeting with the head of the CIA. All right. And that shows you that the Lord, man, this is crazy. Let's go to Job 18, the Wadi Halba Shemal Shah. Because the Lord set him up with a trap that he laid. All right. He's guilty of setting up his own demise. All right. This is Job 18 and 7. And it reads, the steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and walketh upon a snare. Man, is cold. So the same Taliban or Ishmaelites, if you will, all right, that he trained up are now rising up. Let the weak say I am strong. Man, it's cold, man. Matter of fact, that reminds me of Isaiah 14. All right, this is Isaiah 14 and 4. And it reads that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Now, when you see Babylon, don't get it twisted. All right, don't get it confused. This is not talking about the ancient Babylon. All right, because when you go into, and I'll grab the precept. All right. When you go into Psalms 137, it shows you that Edom, all right, is also synonymous with the daughter of Babylon. All right. And the king of Babylon represents the head of the nation of Edom. All right. Who is likened unto Babylon. OK, this is Psalms 137 for edification. And 7. And it reads, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. All right, so this shows you that Babylon, all right, and Edom are synonymous, particularly the daughter of Babylon. All right, Isaiah 14 and 4 again reads that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepters of the rulers. All right. And again, who is the wicked? All right. Who is the wicked? Malachi 1 and 4. And it reads, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. All right. Now continue in verse 6. It reads, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. And the Arabs are not ruling the other nations, man. They're not even ruling the other nations to rule them in anger. Outside of what they're doing over there in their own borders, all right, they don't have the ability to rule over nations. This is how we understand who Esau Edom is, according to their qualities and what they will be doing at the end of this age. All right. Verse 7 reads, the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. And that's what the earth is going to do when Esau's taken down. Now let me jump down to the point. Verse 9 reads, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? And you can see this kind of rhetoric, particularly with these other nations and how they look at and how they do the news or they account for the things that are happening, particularly in America. You know, they're taking up taunting proverbs, like it says in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Shameful spewing on the glory of America, which is Babylon the Great. All right. And this goes back to them saying, again, verse 10, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right, and this goes into Esau Edom. All right, particularly their elites are also known as the light bearers, all right, of this world. All right, a perfect example of that is the secret society's name, Illuminati, which goes into illuminated ones. All right, because Lucifer is a title. It just means light bearer. All right. Now, continuing, it says, which didst weaken the nations. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation and the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And this is what Esau Edom is trying to do with technology. All right. He's trying to use technology to ascend above the heights of heaven, to be God on earth, essentially. Continuing, it says, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? And that shows you that this is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. All right, because it says the man, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Not the angel, but the man. All right, so I just wanted to go into that through the spirit. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other precepts that come to mind. Matter of fact, verse 17 reads, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. Man, that's a nail on the head. Ishmaelites not putting people in prisons, man. They don't have a prison industrial complex. But America does. And who's running America? Who's running all of these Western institutions, if you will? Who are the founders of these institutions? The so-called white man, which is Esau Edom. And this is who it's referring to. That opened up the house, that opened not the houses of their prisoners, that turned the earth into a wilderness. Man. Continuing, let me see. Verse 18, All the kings of the nations, even all of them lie in glory, every one in his own house. But thou art cast out thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden underfoot. All right. And Esau is going to be the only one as a nation of people that are completely destroyed after 1,000 years of captivity. All right. And that's going to be a meat, which means good judgment. All right. For the activities that have been done on the earth, man, for the wickedness that's been done on the earth, man. All right. Contrary to popular belief, Esau's not going to ride off into the sunset. All right. Concerning the deeds that they've done on the earth. All right. So Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.